What's up everybody, this is Ven, and I welcome you to the Mock Spotlight, where we take apart what you build. For today's episode, we'll be reviewing the Swordfish, posted on DeviantArt and created by username rahiden. I actually picked this mock specifically because it is Shark Week, and yes, I know that swordfish are not sharks. So before you go and ask me, Ven, why the heck didn't you get a shark mock instead of this? Why'd you get a swordfish mock? Why'd you do this, Ven? Now, I'll explain later. So for now, let's go ahead and talk about how I'm gonna review this thing. And as always, I will be using a point system that is based on 3 fundamental attributes: the overall appearance of the mock, the build of the mock itself, and the concept and ideas behind the mock's creation. Each quality will mount up to 5 points, leading up to a final score that will be determined at the end of the episode. And remember, this is all my opinion. Feel free to construct yours and disagree with me all you want. So anyway, moving on, let's look at this swordfish. Boy, it's a swordfish. Wow, it looks exactly like a swordfish. Well, almost exactly. See, swordfish are made of meat, and then this swordfish is made of BIONICLE. But enough with the technicalities. At first glance, this is a fairly sleek looking mock. Nothing jutting out in awkward places, which is a big plus because you can notice that this guy used purely nothing but BIONICLE and Technic parts. No Hero Factory, no CCBS. Actually, I believe this mock was created long before CCBS's time. So this is pretty much all the creator had to work with, and he does state in the title of this creation that it's a BIONICLE mock. So for it to be made out of pretty much nothing but BIONICLE parts, that is to be expected. And this looks really good. Here we have a nice color scheme consisting of blue, or dark blue actually, white, and silver, and tiny orange eyes. The balancing of all these colors is very well done. Of course, the only orange is in the eyes, but I mean, the dark blue pretty much dominating the entire mock, while the white kind of shows up on the underbelly, and pretty much nothing but the underside of this mock, with nice complements of silver on the fins, the cheeks, I guess you could say, and of course the sword part of the swordfish. One highlight for me when it comes to this mock's appearance, and some of you may agree, is the holly wing that is being used for the dorsal fin. I mean, obviously swordfish don't have this sort of thing going on with their actual dorsal fins. Well, I guess some of them do. Well, sort of. I don't know, swordfish are weird, man. But this is a really unique and excellent use of that piece. It's a very nice looking piece, so I'm glad to see that it's being used in this way. And though this is technically inaccurate to the actual swordfish, I actually really appreciate how nice and well built the sword part appears to be. Now the sword part here is very thick before it gets to the end, and I like this sort of build-up it has, kind of giving off this manly swordfish kind of thing, whereas the real life swordfish kind of looks like a wimp, don't you think? But this swordfish right here, this looks like a man turned into a fish. Anyway, I really like how this looks, and though it probably should be thinner for more accuracy, it looks fine. I guess that's pretty much all I have to say in this regard. Looks like a swordfish, and it's a good looking swordfish, so let's move on to the build. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a purely BIONICLE based creation, and it looks very good. The creator made great utilization of the parts that he put in here, but I guess my critique will start with the fact that this mock doesn't have too wide of a variety of different parts. Like, you can see the Metru feet and a bunch of Visorak feet being used to make up the body of, or the top part of the body of this mock, and while it looks good, it would have been nice to have seen some other parts being used here because it seems a bit typical to use these parts. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I thought I'd make note of it. And it is an interesting note to me because there are instances in this mock where I probably wouldn't have expected certain parts to be used, such as the masterful usage of the holly wing, or the Nokama Hordika head that's being used for the forehead of this swordfish. So there were definitely some creative ideas being used here. Unfortunately, there are a few gaps, albeit very tiny gaps. most notably one left by just right behind the head actually, and then a few other tiny gaps here and there that sort of break the flow that this MOC had going in its overall design, but not drastically. Push these little quirks aside, this MOC looks very structurally stable. It looks like it has a nice solidified build, keeping all these parts in check. And it also retains some sense of flexibility here in the body. You can actually see that there's a bit of articulation here. I'd say that's mighty impressive. So now, that's enough I have to say about the build. Let's move on to the concept and ideas behind this MOC.
Hey kids, can you guess the big idea behind this MOC? You know, the Swordfish MOC? Can you guess what it's supposed to be?
I don't know, it's supposed to be a swordfish. A swordfish as it would probably appear in BIONICLE. Rahiden cited the Halimari wing as his inspiration for starting this MOC, said that he stared at that piece for so long that he had to make something out of it. And so it's a pretty simple idea. I mean, you took this one piece, and you wanted to make something out of it, and you decided to make a swordfish. Swordfish looks like this, so you make something that looks like this, and boom, this is what happened. You made something that looked like that. It looks really good. Of course, it isn't the most accurate. There are a couple of design quirks that set this apart from looking like an actual swordfish. First off is the head. As I mentioned earlier, the real swordfish has a more thin sword nose thing, and the head is clearly not as bulky. And then the pair of fins in the back should be a bit smaller. They're supposed to actually be smaller than the pectoral fins, or actually the pectoral fin should probably be bigger. And then of course the dorsal fin is debatable, because I guess the dorsal fin on real swordfish does vary, and the dorsal fin on this MOC looks too cool to be replaced, so let's just ignore that. But at the end of the day, you can look at this MOC and easily recognize it as a swordfish despite all these inaccuracies. So let's get to the final scores now, shall we? Apologies for the lack of pictures, but there actually weren't that many pictures I could go off of. Anyway, in terms of appearance, this MOC receives a 4 out of 5. It's a really good looking creation with not a lot of flaws that I can really point out. The only big flaw I can really say is that it's just a swordfish. And you know, aside from the actual design of this swordfish, there isn't anything all too crazy to make it like stand out. I mean, it's a swordfish. But the fact that it's so easily recognizable as a swordfish and that it looks good, I think that merits a fairly high score. In terms of the build, I'll give this MOC a 4.5 out of 5. I did make a good bit of criticism about this MOC's build, such as the small gaps and the variety of parts he used, but for the most part, I mean, this MOC is very structurally solid. The majority of the parts on this MOC were used in a very unique way, and it's actually articulated in the fins and in the actual body, so you can make this fish wriggle around if you want. And then the concept and ideas behind this MOC receive a 4.5 out of 5, simply because of the inaccuracies. The builder did achieve his goal of making a swordfish, and he was very satisfied with the outcome. So I can't really dock him down for making a good-looking swordfish. I mean, it's a swordfish. It's a manly swordfish. The only reason why I docked off half a point was because of the inaccuracies, which I'm sure some people would probably have a problem with. So I'm going to acknowledge that now. And here comes the final score. So, for the final score of this swordfish MOC, I will dictate a 13 out of 15. Not a whole lot to complain about this MOC, but there is a whole lot to praise in that the dude wanted to make a swordfish, and he did, and it turned out really good. So, I think I've said that a million times, but anyway. Overall, very impressive work from you, Rahiden. I hope to see more out of you. And before I wrap up this video, I want to make a quick announcement that has to do with why I picked a swordfish MOC for Shark Week. You see, I actually did look for a shark MOC, but it seems as though there aren't that many shark-based Bionicle creations out there. There are some system ones, and I probably will look at those when I start looking at system mocks a bit more in the future. But for now, I haven't seen all too many CCBS or BIONICLE based sharks. I mean, I've seen a few, but nothing I'd really want to feature on the spotlight. I mean, hey, maybe I missed a good looking one somewhere, but anyway. And so this will lead into my announcement. I want you guys, you viewers, to make a very specific mock. A shark. Make a shark out of CCBS, Technic, or BIONICLE, post it to our message boards, and the best looking one, in my opinion, will go on a spotlight. It has to be a shark, any kind of shark, I don't care what kind of shark, maybe your own imagination shark. Just post it on our message boards, stating that it is for Shark Week. Just state in the post that it's for Shark Week, and I'll know that you made it because of this episode. You guys have 2 weeks to do this as of the day that I post this episode. So go out there, make that shark creation, and post it on our message boards, and pray. Because I will be looking for the most interesting looking shark in my eyes, and throwing it up on a future mock spotlight. So, thank you all for watching. That's the end of this video. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe. I hope to see some really cool sharks made by you guys. I'll be disappointed if I don't see any at all. Again, post them to our message boards in the LEGO Creations category at board.ttvpodcast.com. It's not that hard to find the LEGO Creations category. So post your stuff there, and I guess I'll see you soon.